Hey, everybody. Hey, Lydia.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody. Um, so, this is our second episode for Returning to Love show. We decided we're not counting the last one and we're not using it. So, we're just continuing our conversations on A Course in Miracles. Thanks so much for joining us, you guys. We really appreciate it. So, anyway, girlfriend, how's your week been?
Uh, it's been it's been enlightening, uh,
Lots of
to say the
forgiveness.
least. Yeah,
Lots of
lots of
forgiveness.
forgiveness, opportunities, lots of chances to learn a repeating lesson that has been occurring like throughout my whole life, which I'll probably go into later because it's part of the course. But it's seek not outside yourself. Uh,
Uh,
seek
amen.
not, yeah, seek not outside yourself. Lessons on forgiveness, lessons on judgment and non-judgment.
Mm.
So it's been a fruitful week as far as that. It's a lot of revelations.
I had an interesting week as well. Lots of opportunities to forgive and to really be aware of my judgments against people, whether I felt they did me wrong or were doing something wrong. And it was nothing like big, no big things, just all the little things. But they're still there. But even, oh, before I get into that, I want to tell y'all about my head wrap. Hold on, let me show you. I love it. I got to tell Lydia a little bit before we started, but we had Brazil Day, the street festival yesterday in Detroit. So I was able to go and get my head wrap and some earrings. So I was like, I'm gonna wear these tonight to show our viewers. So, but yeah, and I've really been this week, especially. Actually, I would say I started a few months ago, but I've heard of it before. I knew about it, but I hadn't really gotten into the teachings of it. And that's that Hawaiian technique, that ancient one they teach called Hapanu, which is I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. But it's a whole system sort of that you use to clear or clean any memories that you're having that are manifested as perceived problems. And this week, especially, I was just able to kind of really get into it, and so many similarities between that and the course. I'm like, I think it'd be great for me to really learn and get down. So I decided to go ahead and go through with the certification. And so I'm going to do that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it was very inexpensive. Dr. Joe Vitale, he's the one that, or Vital, I'm not sure how you say his last name. I've been saying it wrong for years, but he's the one that kind of made Dr. Hewlin popular in the States. And has a certification that he offers to train people how to do it and be practitioners of it. So I decided I want to do that. So I'm excited about it because I've been watching a lot of videos with David Hoffmeister. For you
Uh-huh.
guys that aren't familiar with him, he's a very popular Course in Miracles teacher, and he did a lot of videos on Ho'oponopono as well. So I was watching those videos today too. So I had a really good week, really interesting week, and
Good, good.
with some of the situations that I experienced this week, Ho'oponopono is all about accepting 100% responsibility for everything that's going on in your life because it's in your life. And then Dr. Hewlin always says, have you ever noticed whenever you have a problem, you're there? So it's kind of a reminder that it has to be you, so to speak. It's
Mhm.
never the other person. But the thing is
Mhm.
all about cleaning the part of yourself that projected whatever you perceive the problematic person or situation to be. And so it kind of reminds me of that, how the course teaches forgiveness, because it's not forgiving you because of what you did. It's forgiving you and understanding that you never did it anyway. You know what I mean? So it was that kind of thing. And so it's been really interesting. I had a really good week, so I decided Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
Um, go
And
ahead.
the Ho'oponopono thing, what I've always found interesting is the doctor who created it, how he came to discover that formula. If you could go into that with the is it the mental patients?
Well, he didn't create it. This is a
Oh, okay.
ancient practice that's been
Ah,
around with like Maori people or ancient
okay.
Hawaiian people, those kind of people for as long as they can remember. His teacher, his name Morna something. I can't think of her last name, but she kind of changed how they were doing the technique, and hers is like it's called the
Mhm.
identify or the
Mhm.
self identify Ho'oponopono technique.
Mhm.
So it's a little different in what they've done in the past, where the other person doesn't even have to be there, because you're all about cleaning yourself, and when you're doing that, you're always with yourself. So I guess in ancient practitioners, they used to bring people together who were having problems and then work with the two of them. And her technique made it more about the self I dash identity or identify technique, and it's just focused on you, because if
Mhm.
it's in your awareness, then you're the one that needs to clean, because you projected it, you created it. And so how Dr. Joe Vitale heard about him is he heard about this story about this psychologist that worked in a Hawaii State Hospital, a mental hospital back in the 80s. And he worked in a ward for the criminally insane. And when he got there, lots of violence, lots of staff turnover, very dark, kind of negative environment. Staff would walk with their backs against the wall, afraid they'd be attacked. Lots of criminals would have to be shackled. They never got to go outside or do any kind of activities. And so when he went there, I think he was working like part time, 20 hours a week. He would have them bring him the patient's charts, and he never saw patients. He never
Mhm.
saw them personally. All he would do was look at their charts and clean, because he said it wasn't ever about the patients. It was about whatever it was in him that created them and whatever it was that they perceived to have done. And so he would just clean, clean, clean. And he did that. And over the course of the 3 years, they say he was able to clear out the whole ward, like the very violent patients that had to be medicated all the time, they were able to reduce their medications. The ones that had to be shackled all the time were able to be unshackled. They got to start going outside and doing activities like playing tennis or washing cars or doing other things like that. And they say when within 3 years he had cleared that whole ward using Ho'oponopono, and eventually they closed that ward. So
Mhm.
I thought that was an interesting story. And
Mhm.
like to hear him talk about is nothing is ever out there. It's all here. And if it's in your awareness, that means you created it and you're the one that has to
Mhm.
clean it. It's taking 100% personal responsibility for
Mhm.
everything that comes up in your awareness. And
Mhm.
so it's really, really powerful. I love watching he's got a lot of interviews and different things on YouTube. I can post some of those in the links
Mhm.
if any of you guys are interested in seeing them. But yeah, it was just I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story enough that I got the book. Dr. Joe Vitale wrote a book with him called Zero Limits, because
Mhm.
he talks about how what he does when he's cleaning is he's wiping away the memories to get it back to zero. So kind of like canceling the memories out so that
Mhm.
you're clear to be at one with the divine.
Mhm.
And so that's what he talks about, just cleaning the memories. So it was really good. I'm really enjoying everything I'm learning, and I want to continue my learning and deepening my learning, especially since it all falls right in line with the course anyway, which I've already been studying. So that
Mhm.
was my week. Um,
Mhm.
like I said, I had a few things come up with some like associates and things, and I really kind of I started judging because it's kind of it feels like the natural thing to do, like, and
Mhm.
I realized that's what I was doing, and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to address the problem
Mhm.
or how I wanted to respond to the message, all of the things, and it came up just do a panu on it and clean it.
Mhm.
That's all I've been doing for the past few days is I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And that's like the main Ho'oponopono prayer that you say on any problem or what you perceive to be a problematic person. That's how you clean. You just use those
Mhm.
four words over and over and over and over again. Or if you can't remember all that, just say I love you over and over and
Mhm.
over and over again. So anytime you think
Mhm.
about it, anytime it comes up, just keep saying it to yourself and the situation will change. So
Mhm.
that's what I've been doing.
Okay, so for me, over the past week, one of the issues that I've had to sort of face about about myself is that I have a very hard time being open and vulnerable and like showing people the real me. There's always a sense of armor that I'm wearing, a defensiveness.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would have never got that from you. We've been
Oh
friends
my God.
years.
Mhm. Yeah, but there are a lot of things that like I keep to myself, and that
Yeah.
even you, as my best friend, do not know about me.
That's true because it has been a few times over the years where we'll be in like a deep conversation about something and you'll mention something and you're like, but I don't want to talk about that right now. I'll tell you one day. Matter of fact, you still never did. It's been a few years now.
Oh my, I can't even
But
remember
yeah,
what it was, but I'll
so
slither
I don't want to
away.
spill your business, but we'll talk. But yeah, it has been sometimes where I do see that and I'm like, she's like a little bit secretive, but not secretive,
Uh-huh.
but guarded. So I can see that.
Yes,
Thank
very guarded and defensive. And I was talking to another friend about this actually earlier this week, and there's a part in the course about defenses and how when we defend ourselves, we are actually attacked. I think it says if I defend myself, I am attacked, or we do attack. And so when we defend ourselves, what the ego is really doing here is when we defend ourselves, it means that we are weak, which basically means that God is dead and the separation from God happened. Because if I can be hurt, then I'm not at one with God. Because back home and God, where we really are, there's no such thing as pain. There's no such thing as hurt. Like we can't be hurt. But when we feel that we have to erect defenses, what we're saying is that what our ego is saying is that we were victorious in the separation from God and that I'm really here, I really exist, and I can be hurt. And that's the proof of that. And there's another part of the course where it says, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And I know that's like deep down, that's the truth, but it's still so very hard for me to lower my defenses and let people see who I truly am and like the deepest parts of myself. Because there's another part of the course that says you think you are the home of evil, darkness, and sin. And throughout the years, as I've come back to the course and I've learned more about it and I've taken more of it in, I've found that, that's very true. There is a part of me that thinks that I am the home of evil, darkness, and sin. And like if people only knew about some of the things, that I've done, and we all make mistakes, but they would, like, if people saw aspects of the real me, that like I would be rejected and I could be hurt by that. So there's like I've really had to come to terms with the fact that I erect all these defenses, but it's not really keeping me safe. It's actually hurting me, and in a lot of ways, you can't. When you have all these defenses, it lowers the chance for people to like see the real you and connect to the real you, and that's what that's what makes genuine connection, genuine brotherhood, genuine fellowship, the true joining of minds that the course talks about. Um,
So what are you going to
and
do, do you think, to get better at being a little bit more, I guess, vulnerable is really what it is.
well, this so the defenses, like when we build these defenses, we have to pretend to be something that we're not. And to our audience, like this sort of played into our last broadcast.
Oh, I
That was
deleted
last
that one.
Sunday. Yeah. Well, we deleted it because we found that when we went back, and we could tell when we were recording it, we found that we were like, I can see it from my side because I'm me and I know what I was experiencing. Like I was trying to be something that I really wasn't. Like it wasn't the real me that was presenting itself during that podcast, during that broadcast. And so that was due to my defenses and thinking like, oh, it's not good enough to just be me, to just be Lydia. I have to mimic these other course teachers and what they taught. So that was a defense right there. And it ended up like not connecting as much. It certainly didn't connect to me and you, right? And
Mhm.
so I'm in this program called Landmark, which it's like this self development transformational program that helps you to break down. It's interesting because it actually teaches like a lot of what the course talks about, but it's not they don't brand it as spirituality. But it helps you to break down all the barriers that you've erected throughout your life to get to the real you, the core of who you are, and to share that with people. And so I'm working on a project that's going to connect to this show. It's a community-based project. I want to get 5 course teachers and interview them for this show so that we can share that with the wider course community. And we had class, like an all day class, lecture, seminar, whatever, yesterday, where we talked about how to successfully enroll and register other people in our ideas. And one of the things that we hit on was that to do that, you have to be authentic. Like that's how you really connect on a human level to another person. And so that's how you enroll people and get people on board with your ideas. And so it was just further proof of how all these defenses that I've erected actually they don't how they hurt instead of help, and how they act as a block between the connection of me and my brother. And
I know
so,
I just read Alex Wolf's Resonate book a
uh-huh.
couple weeks ago, and it was similar. I guess you could
Mhm.
call it a marketing book, but it wasn't really marketing. It was geared
Mhm.
more toward creatives, and
Mhm.
she talks about how she just speaks kind of authentically what she's feeling, what she's doing, and that resonates with enough people that then they share what
Mhm.
it is that she puts out. she doesn't even have to go and market it because they
Mhm.
resonate with it so much. They share it with their friends and family and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So it's definitely very important to just be your authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So I was
yeah,
asking
that's
you
just
what,
it.
so is the landmark thing is helping you to take those defenses down and be more of yourself? Because I was asking you, so what are you gonna
It
do to get
is.
better at that?
It is. Well, to get better at it. I'm trying to take small steps that, and this show is one of those, like opening myself up and letting people see the real me, because it really, what it really doesn't, like, I do see that when I am more myself, like, people can connect to me better and I can connect to other people better. And I guess I'm just like going back to the course and sort of using that and what the course says about defenses and how it blocks me from my brother, like, as my guide, and to just try to be more and more open, more vulnerable, and to take baby steps as much as I can. And like, I would love to be like totally naked and transparent and like to just not care. That's
You'll
the
get
point I want
there.
to get to.
I
Yeah,
think awareness of it is even the first step. So
yeah.
you'll get
Uh,
there.
yeah, well, I can just be me and just not worry about like I'm going to get hurt or I'm going to offend somebody else or things of that nature. All the things we do that keep up the personality or the persona. Like, most people, we go around with a mask on. It's not who we really are. And
Hmm.
I want to be able to show
Even
the real
online,
me.
people are not themselves,
Oh, online is even
especially.
worse than in real life. Like, people cherry pick the best like parts of their moments and they put them online. Like, nobody's going to show when
The
they're having a
ugly.
total breakdown, the ugly
Yeah.
of their lives. So to me, like, I want to be naked and vulnerable and just soft. I want to feel soft. That's what it is.
Have you ever read Brene Brown's books? Any
No,
of
what's the name of her?
hers?
No, I've seen an
The
interview with her
the
though.
most popular one is The Power of Vulnerability.
Mhm.
And that was her first book, I think, and it's one of the more popular ones. I really think you should read that. That would help you a lot.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
even, and she does like TED Talks and interviews and lots of other things too. And her main theme is vulnerability,
Mhm.
talking about it. So I think that would
Yeah.
be very beneficial to you. I have
Mhm.
one of them here. I have Daring Greatly. Actually, that was a really good one too.
Mhm.
Daring Greatly. But when you come, I'll give it to you. But you got to get the Power of Vulnerability. I think I gave that one away already. Yeah, I'll have to see. But I think that would really really speak to you with what you were just talking about.
Mhm. And actually, in my defenselessness, my safety lies, that's actually lesson 153 of the course. And
Of
I
the
just want
workbook,
to
right?
read of the workbook, and I just want to read like a couple of paragraphs where they talk about defenselessness and defensiveness. So it says, defenselessness is strength. It testifies to the recognition of the Christ in you. Perhaps you will recall the text maintains that choice is always made between the strength of Christ in you and your own weakness seen apart from him. Defenselessness can never be attacked because it recognizes strength so great attack is folly, or a silly game a tired child might play when he becomes too sleepy to remember what he wants. Defensiveness is weakness. It proclaims you have denied the Christ and come to fear his Father's anger. What can save you now from your delusion of an angry God whose fearful image you believe you see at work in all the evils of the world? what but illusions could defend you now when it is but illusions that you fight? And so, yeah, we always choose between the strength of Christ in us and the strength of the ego in us. And with Christ, we need no defenses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Love
love that.
needs no defenses.
No, that's a very
It does not defend, it does not oppose.
powerful lesson to get. It's one that's hard to remember in your day to day, but
Hmm.
it's definitely a good one because you almost come up all throughout the week different uh ways that you judge yourself as being attacked in some way. And I don't mean like a big attack. It doesn't have to be anything big or physical or anything. But even if somebody supposedly says something that you feel offends you or was disrespectful to you or even made you feel sad or whatever it is, you know,
Hmm.
if you can remember if you can remember that very important lesson 153, you remember
Hmm.
it's nothing to defend because if you know who you are and you know whose you are, you're
Hmm.
all powerful and it's no reason to guard against anything because nothing can take that away from you. So
Nothing can take the peace of God away from you. And
absolutely.
when we believe that we have to defend, when we believe that we can be attacked or that we have been attacked, then I sort of said this earlier, but
It
that's
doesn't
another
matter.
way of saying, I separated and I'm
I'm
alone
separated. I'm
and God is
different.
dead. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. We choose against God in that instance. So something to think about.
So that
Yeah.
was kind of your course lesson of the week was
Yeah.
defensiveness.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think mine was the judgments
Hmm.
too. I mean, that's always a part of it, but this week I really, really got a chance to look at it, my judgments of people, and even listening to Earl Purdy.
Hmm.
Can't earlier this week. I'm trying to remember if it was the one from today. No, he does. He's another famous course teacher or popular course teacher, and I watch his Facebook lives. He goes live a couple times a week. But it was just a reminder that even good judgments are still judgments. So even when we
Hmm.
judge somebody as being whatever it is, smarter than us, or
Hmm.
whatever it is, whatever judgment we put on them, it's still a judgment, and that's
Yeah.
still ego. And it
Hmm.
was good to remember that because I've been kind of for the past few weeks. I need to think positive of people, this and that, and all of that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to be aware that a judgment is still a judgment, regardless of whether you judge it as positive or negative.
Hmm.
So I
And
thought
I
that
think
was
the Yeah, when you take the judgment seriously as well, because
yes.
some judgments, like if you have a human body, like you can't get away from judging some things. Like you have to choose a pair of socks to wear. Will it be the red ones or the
Hmm.
black ones?
Hmm.
Um, but when we take it seriously and when we
Yeah,
believe in the judgment, because the reason that judgments, even good judgments, are the ego is because once you judge for one thing, you have to
you have to
judge
judge for the
against another, and both are the same thing. Both are you. And
hmm
so when you make a judgment and you believe in it and you're judging against another thing, you're actually judging against yourself. And,
and
you can't be truly happy if you do that.
that's what I've been more consciously aware of this week with my judgments, even my positive ones. I'm usually thinking by judging people positively while negatively judging myself in a way
Hmm.
like, oh, I wish I could be more
Hmm. Yeah.
whatever it is, or I wish I could present that way, or I wish I was smart in that way, or whatever it is. It could be anything. I
Hmm.
can't think of an example off the top of my head this week, but I just became very, very consciously aware of that when I'm judging people, even the positive ones. I'm usually judging negatively against myself in that moment.
And to the ego, it doesn't matter, just as long as you're judging
Right,
against
just as long
something.
as you judge. So they can remain here.
Mhm. Judgment is really the ego's bread and butter.
Oh yeah, that's how it's. And it's funny because I had even found myself judging some course teachers who I normally kind of revered in a sense because I felt like watching them now. I'm like, they weren't teaching from the course so much anymore. They had moved more into politics or whatever. And I was even judging that and like
Uh-huh.
saying, oh, all they're talking about is ego now. And I'm like, oh, wait, the ego's got me too because I'm judging
Uh,
it. It's so tricky. Like a
mhm.
sneaky little bastard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it is sneaky. It is sneaky. And then, there's another part of the course that talks about how we cannot make judgments because we don't have enough information to judge. Like the course
Exactly.
talks about how at the instant that the tiny mad idea appeared, like it was basically over at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. So in that instant, like, because time is an illusion, it talks
Mm-hmm.
about that. So in that instant, like all the billions of years or whatever, however many years they are in like what we think of as a timely linear fashion, they all happened at that same instant. And
Exact
so
moment.
like all the dimensions, all the years of time, like to make any judgment, you would really have to know what happened from the beginning to the end. And so
In
none of us know
every
that.
possible scenario and every possible dimension or parallel universe or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
All we have is this little instant of time, and we're not even seeing that clearly.
exactly.
The past is gone, and we don't, that the past, we make up all these stories about the past. Nobody looked at the past objectively. And then
Hmm.
we don't know the future. And again, we can't even see this moment entirely for what it is. And so we do not, the course says very kind of nicely, it tries to be nice to us. We do not have enough information to judge. And so that's when it tells you, like when you're tempted to make those kind of judgments, go back and judge with the Holy Spirit, the right part of the mind, instead of the ego, the wrong part of the mind. So yeah,
Hmm.
the fact that we think we have enough information to judge
Yep,
people and situations. Oh, and how has that turned out for humanity?
exactly. Even
I
if you
want to
just
know.
think about how has it turned out for your own life as an
I
individual.
know. Oh
Not
my
well.
gosh.
Not well at all. So I've just been because I've been doing the Hapanupanu, and I hope I'm saying that right, y'all. I always messing up. I've been more consciously aware of when they come up so that I can immediately start cleaning.
Hmm.
Start with it. He calls cleaning, which is you're cleaning the memories because it's like all problems are memories that you're holding on to in the moment, and you just have to clean. All you have to
Hmm.
do is clean, clean, clean. So that was really a really good awareness for me to have this weekend, a really good practice. I really want to get more into it. But I did have a few things come up this week that were kind of like just really kind of what I felt out of my control, maybe. And I was judging it, the people in it. Like I have a very close loved one who um I judged as an alcoholic and judged as putting their life and their his
Hmm.
life in danger, and just all these judgments I was having about it. And I'm like, what do I do about it? And I
Hmm.
went straight to ego, like, oh well, I could find a rehab, I could do this and this and that. And I was like, remembering all I have to do is clean.
Hmm.
Clean all those memories that I had or fears of the future, stuff that
Hmm.
had happened. I can just I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you.
Hmm.
And I've just been doing that over and over, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel fine about it, whatever it is, because like you said, I have no right to judge. I don't know the full story. I don't know what memories they might be playing that, I don't have no idea. So all I can do is clean because if it's in my awareness, then what I'm seeing, I project it.
Mhm.
And all I can do is focus on cleaning me, heal
And
that.
that's vision with the Holy Spirit and
Hmm.
judgment with the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that I'll have my slip ups
Mhm.
because we do. But if you could just, even once you become aware of it, that's already a big step in it
Mhm.
because there were times in my life I wasn't even aware of what I was doing as far as making judgments and things of that nature and just enforcing the idea of separation. And that's
Mhm.
so now I'm aware of it. I can help just clean and clear it and just try to keep myself centered on that infinite love that is all that is anyway.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
defenselessness and judgments, really good lessons to learn this week.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the stuff that comes up is just what you need to learn in that
Mhm.
moment for that,
Mhm.
for that amount of time so that you can evolve.
Mhm.
That's really interesting. But it's funny, until you brought it up, I would not have described you as a defensive person.
Oh yeah. And I think
Because you
most
just
people don't see that.
part of you. But
Like, yeah.
once you said it, then I had a few memories of
Uh-huh.
in the past, like places like where we're talk. Because you and I, guys, Lydia's been my best friend for probably like 8 or 9 years, something
Well, we
like
met in November 2008 at an In the Fed rally,
that.
guys,
Yes, we
in
met at a
Detroit.
protest on JFK's birthday in the Federal Reserve. Oh my gosh. That is
Mhm.
so funny to think of how much we've evolved over the years. Like I
Yeah.
would oh my gosh, that is so funny. So
Yeah.
almost 10 years, but we've been really close for most of those years. Like our friendship
Uh-huh.
kind of came just like boom.
Mhm.
And I do remember a few times where we were having like conversations and then it was like certain places like you wouldn't go. I remember that one telling me like I'll tell you one day. I don't want to discuss it now though.
Uh-huh.
So, and I
Yeah.
remember thinking back then, I'm like, okay, that's
Mhm.
weird, but
Yeah. And also with like defenses, sort of going back to what you said about like everywhere you go, there you are. Well, if you go out with a bunch of armor on, if you meet the world with defensiveness, then yeah, you're going to have to defend because that's what you're
hmm
putting out there. So,
hmm
yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
you're gonna
Uh-huh.
attract situations where you need to defend yourself, right? Right,
Mhm.
where you
Mhm.
perceive
Or
that
you perceive, I've perceived
you,
it,
you
you
perceive
know.
that you need to defend yourself.
Mhm.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to get into tonight for this show?
Uh no, I think that was really that's really what stood out to me this week. Like the defenselessness. And my defenselessness, my safety
My
lies.
safety
And I know the
lies.
truth of it. I know the truth of it.
That's the thing about the course. Like it's
Mm,
like for me, it's never been hard to accept that anything in the course was true. And
mhm.
I think maybe because like I was raised a Christian Scientist, so some of the stuff was similar and even the other stuff that I was learning that was different. I had a little trouble with the forgiveness part of it being, how the world says, I forgive you for what you did or what I
Mhm.
perceived you did. And the course says, I forgive you because you did nothing. You know what I mean? It's a little
Mhm.
different the way they look at forgiveness. So I
Yeah.
think I had a little trouble with that in the beginning because I started My mom started me studying the course when I was about 15. So I was like in 10th grade and, high school. So a little hard. But other than that, nothing in here was ever difficult for me to accept as true, but difficult in applying it daily
Uh-huh.
in my life. I have always had difficulty with that. And I think that's why I've never finished the lessons in the 20 plus years I've been reading the course on and off. I'll try to start at lesson one and I never make it to the end because it's really about the application of it. Yeah, you can know it,
Absolutely.
but it's all about applying what you know, especially
Mhm.
in the moment when you're in the moment with those
Mhm.
things that may come up. That's what's always been difficult for me. And I've always described myself as kind of an introvert. Even as a child, I rather read a book in my closet than be around a bunch of people most of the time. And
Mhm.
that
I know what you
hasn't
mean.
changed as an adult. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a course student, but I just want to practice the course in here. like, but that's how you learn. Like you have to go out in the world and deal with what you perceive as being others because that's how you learn about yourself. And then so
Yes,
it's
the
always been applying the course that has
uh-huh.
been difficult for me.
When you go out and apply it to other people are really like split off aspects of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're applying it to them, then that's and you're forgiving them, then the ego, the feeling of separation, of me being separate from them, it sort of melts away. And so we
Mm-hmm.
all have, because we want to maintain our individual self and the
Our
idea of Lydia
identity.
and Bria.
Right.
And so we all have this resistance to like actually applying the course. We can read it and be like, yeah, yeah, because like this makes sense. But like actually putting it into practice and saying bye bye to the ego,
Mm-hmm.
there's tremendous resistance to that.
Oh yeah.
So,
And I grew up my family is like heavy sci-fi fans. So I think I said
hmm
this in the last show. We're all Trekkies and stuff. So anytime I think about like one mind and stuff like that, I would always think of the Borg.
hmm
And the Borg is seen on Star Trek as a bad thing because they're all connected to the hive mind or whatever, the one mind. And so, yeah, you try to maintain your identity even when you know better. Like
hmm
that's it's hard to not see myself as a woman or a woman of color or a person of
hmm
color or all those things that we use to I that we think are identifying who we are.
hmm
And so yeah,
and
learning
those
the course.
identities, yeah, I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
those identities are what like wars are fought over.
Exactly. I'm a
That's
Christian.
where all
You're a
conflict,
Muslim. You're a Jew.
all conflict comes
All
from.
conflict is over.
These
I'm
perceived
right and you're
identities,
wrong. Yes.
these differences.
Hmm. And it's so
Um,
ridiculous when you think about it and you know better. But then, like in the world, it's still hard to remember in those moments when
hmm
different things come up. So I really, really want to get better with my practical side of the course, with practicing the its teachings daily,
hmm
and because that's always been what's been difficult for me.
Agreed. I think that's everybody's issue with the course,
I
like most
know.
people.
And I want to get through the lessons. I've already got it. My only New Year's resolution for 2019 is to do a lesson a day for the whole
Mhm.
365. Is next year a leap year? I don't even know. But I want to get through
2019,
these.
no, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay,
2020, I
good.
think would be the leap year,
Okay, good.
but I'll check on
Because
it.
I'm ready to get through these lessons once and for all. And I
Hmm
know, even doing them is still, even after I complete them, it's still a daily practice that you still have to maintain. But I
hmm
I do want to get through the lessons this year. So I hope we can all do that together. um,
Absolutely.
with you and then whatever viewers we have along the way. I know my mom watches. Hi, Mom. Thanks for your support. We love you. So, but yeah, that is definitely what I want to get better on the
Yeah.
practical side in my daily
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
But awareness is the first step. So I'm glad I'm becoming more and more aware.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add?
That's it for me. A lot to reflect on and yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good show.
I think so
Guys,
too.
again, just wanted to remind you if you have any questions or comments that you wanted to send us. I know right now it's on the Facebook Live. You can comment there and we'll do it. Or if you're seeing it on YouTube later, you can comment on the YouTube channel. Also, if you're listening to the podcast, feel free to leave us a review, but only if it's good. And and email us if you have any questions. The email is returning to love show at gmail.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, or we may address whatever your comment or question is on the next show. So that's how you reach us. If you like what you heard, please share or invite your friends or anybody else who you know is interested in the course, and we'll see you guys next week. Good
Thanks
night.
guys. Love you.